Hello everyone, welcome to Novel Creative Tutorials, and today I will show you how to create 3D wireframe audio visualizer in Adobe After Effects using Stardust. So create your composition, let's get started. So after create composition, and as you see here in my comp, I have Stardust applied to this layer in the background with a fill, audio to work with, and a mask layer right here to use later. So on Stardust here, we got emitter. So let's first just rename these to edges here and basically switch these to objects on emitter node and just emit it once and zero out the speed. You can see here we got these objects properties by default is set to edges, going to leave it as it is, and on particles we need to get more life here. So depend on how long is your duration of your comp. So we want here to switch to model and then add a model node here, just connect that to particle. So right here basically we want to go for primitive and then create cylinder. So this is going to be the edge that we're going to create. You can see here in center, we got this one here. So let's just give that 100 on Y, segments just 10. So you can see we have one right here, and basically on model, we need to orient these on the X 90 degree here, and on particle, we need just to make sure actually the particle size is set to 1. So basically we can't see anything now, so we need a model that we're going to create wireframe to it. So right here, let's connect these to the emitter node, edges, and right here we're going to primitive, so we want to have our cube or the model. So I'm just going to create a model here, 500 by 500 and 1000 on the Z axis there, and just 10 on X, Y, and Z segments. So you can see now we got less segments there, but something is wrong here. So on edges, we have edges in her size, so we're just going to check that, and you can see now we got things into place. But on particles here, we need to rotation properties and then just orient that to normals. So now basically we got really nice wireframe there. So let's create camera here just so we can see how it looks. So you can see we got our wireframe to these cube that we're going to work with. That's pretty cool. So now we need to create vertices. So let's just duplicate that, Control D, and let's move these right here. So before connecting the model, let's switch here to sphere on the second duplicate here for on the size. So now let's just connect these to edges too, and on edges let's actually rename these to vertex there, and on object properties going for vertices. So and now you can see we got into place these vertices. So this is how you actually create a wireframe in Stardust for any object. So now you can switch to different objects here and you will get the wireframe there, or you can actually import your model there. So I'm just going to keep it into cube for now to work with. And now we're going to generate the audio keyframes to work with. So we can convert audio to keyframes right here, and basically we need to do more work to remap the values to get a really nice result. So instead of that, I'm going to use sound keys. So let's create a new salt here and just rename these sound keys, and then apply sound keys by Red Giant here. Assign your audio here, and let's solo these layer here. You can see we got these nice spectrum here to work with. So basically here we have range 1 here, so I'm going to use that with trebles here. I'm just going to select these area here and activate here the range 2, maybe keep it as it is, and then range 3 I'm going to use it around here, maybe probably not too much, just around the area here. You can see we got 3 different outputs here with different values here. Maybe this one is a little bit here to get it more higher there, just so the values are different. That's pretty cool. We got different settings here to play with if you want to. For example, here we have fall off, different ones, and different values for the keyframes. You can custom yours as well. So I'm just going to keep everything as it is and make sure you select the whole work area and hit apply. So SoundKeys is just going to create keyframes for us to work with. So hit U to reveal these keyframes. So now we got 3 different outputs to work with. So let's just put these below audio here and then just turn off visibility and go back here to Stardust. So I'm going to add Deform node here and then just basically link these to the model here. And so right here we have Deform type. So we have different ones here. So the first one, I'm just going to use noise and turbulence on normal. So if we play here with position offset, you can see what's going on. So playing with these, just going to deform the model. So I'm just going to link these expression with actually the output 1. So right now we're going to have the same value, but because this is too low, we're going to multiply that by maybe 3. And so we're going to have a nice value to deform here these model based on the output 1 of the sound keys there. So now we're just going maybe to change here the scale value here. You can play with just the scale just to get different look there. And then I'm going to add another deform node here. Let's connect these with the first one. And for the second one here, we're going to transform this time. And right here we have scale Z, and I want to scale that on the Z. So Alt and hit the stopwatch here to add expression. So basically I'm just going to link these to output 2. So the same thing, maybe multiply these by 5. So we want to have maybe even 0.5 here just to get a little bit larger on the Z axis there. So you can see now it just basically reacting to output 1 and the 2 here. So adding one more deform node here, connect that to the previous one, and I'm just going to keep it as it is on noise. And so using the same thing, we're going to apply that on position offset for the third one, and we're just going to link these with the output 3 and probably multiply these by 10. Maybe 10 is too much, so maybe 7 and maybe 500 on noise scale. Maybe that even too much, so probably just going for 6, and instead of normal we're going to axis, and then we just can switch to different axis if you want. You can also choose the Z. So the third output is just going to kick in when there is certain values. We can actually remap the values here. Probably we don't need that at the beginning, for example here. So let's rename these output 3 equal, and so we're going to use if statement here. And so if the output 3 is maybe less than, for example, let's say, depend on the values basically here. So let's say the first range of maybe below 40 here, then we want the value to be 0. Else we want actually the output 3. Multiply by 6 and then just remove the 6 from here. So just the multiplication happened after the if statement. So we have 0 around here, and then the values will start kicking right when it is more than 40 if we look at these keyframes here. So we got more deformation on that. And probably this one, deform 3, maybe put it on the Y So now it's more obvious there. Maybe now it's too much, but we're getting there. So now we have 3 of these set up right now. So instead of using the actual cube, I'm going to use the mask here. So select the model here, and then on primitive, switch that to text and mask, and then select your mask. So we're going to go for edge. So we don't need to have these in the middle, so you can see what's going on there. We want to get more extrude and more segments, just around 6 to have more segments there. Looks pretty cool. And the edge width, just 0.1. We don't want any duplication around the edges there. So now you can see we don't need also here zero out the bevels. We don't want that, basically. So now we got something like that. So let's preview and see how this looks like. So as you can see, the reaction looked pretty cool and everything sounds really nice here and the animation really nice. So now basically let's add a replica node here and just add few replicates. Maybe I'm just going for 10 and then just offset that by 1,000 because I have 1,000 on the extrude value there. So I just want to keep that nicely. So now we have really nice replicates there. So let's animate the camera. So we're just like creating a tunnel there. So switch that to the top here. And basically select our camera here. And let's just move these a little bit here. So we can just keyframe these camera and have a nice animation there. So at the end there, we want that. So you can see there is a few distance here because we are using the scale reacting to the audio. So it's just going to scale that. And so just to keep that in mind, if you want to do a few adjustments to that. So let's put these keyframes on the beginning and then let's just see how this looks from inside here with these duplicates. So as you can see here, the audio reaction looks really cool. So basically you can actually on replica here, you can offset the Z angle here. So you don't have the same repetition here. If you want to have some noise variation, you can also animate that on the whole duration if you want to. You can do a few adjustments to the noise level here. So as you can see here, just how these rotation work on the Z, give more variation there. And of course, on the model here, we can now just lower basically first, let's say, go for 4 on actually segments, extrude segments here, just 4. Just lower these. We can actually now changing the shape of path samples. So for example, it's not really circle now. You can see we get these really nice squares there. You can then just switch to different masks if you want, but when you got circles, you can just switch to different samples here from there, which is pretty cool. As you can see here, you can also here play with these offset if you want. So that's just create different look, a little bit changing how this looks. And for edges width, the more width you apply, the more wireframes you get in the edges. So I'm just going to keep it as default here, 0.1, and 0 on path offset, and 5 on extrude segments there. And now let's stylize this and make it look really nice. So let's create a new adjustment layer. And let's rename these glow, and then I'm going to add deep glow actually, which is going to get us really nice look here. By default, it's really nice. You can switch to add probably there. Probably you can just play with input here. So maybe 50 here. Mask, just going to add the Stardust layer here. Use it as alpha there. So just going to make things so a little bit different here. We can play with edges later on Stardust to make it the rendering settings to extreme is just going to make these really soft and smooth. So we're on half res, so a little bit look into Alice in here. Now you can see if we got that to full res, things start getting much better there when we are on extreme, but it's the rendering time is going to be a little bit slower. So depending on how many segments you use. So right now the glow, maybe probably just keep it as it is. Maybe duplicating that. Maybe this is going to be lens blur here. And then just remove these glow from here. And then just add camera lens blur there. And I already have these blur map to use with camera lens blur. Basically just black and white circle here, fit in that so you can use it. So let's just drop these in our comp here. But first let's change the resolution to half, and on Stardust quality settings, just put that to high so we can work faster right now. So then just assign here these blur map here, maybe 25, and then I'm going to get really nice edges here. Pretty nice. So basically now we can just go to Replica here, and instead of just using everything as white, we can remap the colors there on a long path. So right here we can basically just go for, probably let's go for black and white here. Apply that, and color mix, we need to zero out these graph here. So you can see now it's looking pretty nice with the variation of these gradient here. So if we go to different color, now we're going to get these along path, which is really nice. So we're going to get different colors there depending on where we are going through these tunnel here. So every part going to get different colors there, which is really nice and really cool. So basically now we can actually add a nice motion blur to this. Let's just duplicate this glow and let's rename these motion blur here. And just remove this dip glow here and then add pixel motion blur. And we want to put these just below here. Let's have these at the beginning here, just right here, so we can see what's going on when we add these. So you can see by adding motion blur here, we get some really nice results, not too much shiny here, so we got really nice look. We can adjust here these automatic or manual, so probably going for 90, so you get different. Sometimes you may get some weird results here, but in general you get a really fine look. So as you can see now, changing colors and stuff, getting these looking really nice. Let's preview this one more time. So as you can see guys, the wireframe audio visualizer look pretty cool, and of course you can do more than this, so I'm just going to give you some tips and tricks right now. So as you can see here in this example here, we have a different shape. Of course, as you can see, the lighting is different here. So the first thing you can see here, we got material, nodes, and lights. Just adding the material node by default here, you can actually play with diffuse, roughness, and so on to get different results. But adding that will react well with the lights here. So I'm using everything here with Essential Graphics, adding things organized here so you can actually switch and change things to make it much easier. So for example, here we have few lights, but all these lights are zero intensity here in different position on the space. So for example here, let's turn off visibility. So you can just see, take a look here and turn off visibility here so we can see the actual one. This is just pre-rendered one. So for example here, if you want to use the light, you need to make sure that on Replica Node here, you are not remapping any gradient except black and white to get really nice result. So just make black and white and then just get that. And so now with the light in here, so if we start getting some lights, we're going to get some really nice look. So for example here we have light intensity 3 with this color here. We just need to crank up these a little bit higher there and we're going to get some pretty cool color there. So as you can see here, maybe that's too much, maybe a little bit less right there. And so we're just going to lower intensity and it's going to look as you can see here. And if we enable the bluish one, maybe the second one here, we're going to get some nice lights as well. So always you can see here on the position of these lights here on the z-axis, there is space and distance between each light, just so we can get very nice variation of the color while we're going through the tunnel. As you can see here, very nice look. As you can see, the nice wireframes here. So we can play with that. We could also moving light here, basically reacting here to the audio as well. You can just remap values where you want that light to kick in and move around the tunnel to be just nice lightning effect there. So as you can see here, once you organize things, it's pretty much easier to go through things. So right here, the second one example here, I have used more node here. So for example, I add filled node here and just get that links with the origin Z and amounts here. So just to kick in here, so basically just break these wireframe. So basically you can see here the values will get to 0 here. So for example here we just have these origins Z just moving here on the space, and with the filled node, because it's sphere, so just change the values or the wireframe there. And also here we have the amount using just simple expressions here, just when it is 0 and when we need the value of these filled node to get us into place. We don't want it all time to be the filled node to be right there. Just in some spots you want to have that. Also, this is just moving in the space. So this is just the values here, basically just slider controls, just so easier to change values. So very, very straightforward here. And the third one here, basically you can actually have the path samples reacting to the audio as well. As you can see here, just expression here, very straightforward, linking that with the output 1 or output 2, whatever you got there, just you want to react that. Just make sure it's not very jumpy, so it's really nice and smooth reacting to the audio. So you can do a lot of things to make it really nice and really cool. Another ones here, for example, this one's just if you want to get more creative with these, the same idea here. The whole thing is just about which properties to links. As you can see here, you can get really creative with these, just depend on which and these all used with masks, and this one I think with cube instead of mask, just so you get an idea what you can do. Basically everything just the same concept, the same idea. You can just link properties with each other to get some really cool 3D wireframe audio visualizer. Hope this tutorial was very useful for you as always, and if you have any questions, just comment and I will do my best to be responsive. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more tutorials coming soon, and thank you for watching.